Gilgamesh sky.
This sounds like this fight we just heard about a little while ago.
What? Oh, that fight.
Is that in chapter 6? Or?
No, but we could certainly put the twisted guys in the fight some more too.
Well, that's pretty smooth.
Okay, there's a couple of things in the narrators thing that I didn't. I should have picked them out.
Typos?
Yes.
Typos or?
I know Linda read it for the first time she read it well. There's just a couple of little things.
There's a thing here that I think, like, no, I think it's like a whole big thing, and then there's one big thing in your little line. So.
She could just say, just
yeah.
There were a couple there, yeah.
It's like sticks out and.
The whole crew of writers here, not one pen amongst us.
I compose on the typewriter. Oh, always have real life here.
Should we have the narrator do Dr. Jones's voice too?
Yeah, you can do that too.
Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, great. Let's call it.
We can go now.
This canceled out the ghost of Tom's infidelity. This canceled out the fears of becoming a divorced old maid. And this momentarily made her forget the wonderful nervousness she experienced the night she and Smitty were at the Absinthe House, and she had a drink with Bobby Dubois, the bass player from Memphis. The salad was forgotten. Reed Fallon had finally called. She couldn't eat. Then she remembered her promise to Smitty, and for the third time that eve she picked up her phone. He answered on the first ring.
Hi.
Meredith,
Yeah, guess what?
you've come to your senses and realize it would be your advantage to have an affair with me.
No.
Oh, well, barometer showed up at your house and he's madly in love with you. He's going to take you off to Memphis to pilgrimage to Elvis Presley's grave.
No, better than that.
Reed Fallon called.
Yes.
Don't get too excited, Mary Beth. Dave and Meadory's on the rag. The girlfriend in Morgan City has PMS, and the wife in Little Rock is suing him for child support. He just wants to get laid.
Did she say anything nice?
Her feelings were hurt, and until he mentioned other women, she had forgotten the possibility of there being any. Was quite good.
He asked you out?
Yes.
We gotta go.
Maybe.
What do you mean, maybe? Maybe yes, maybe no. What's a girl to say, maybe? You were praying, he called. Don't give me this maybe shit. You women are all alike. Sassy.
Yes, Smitty, I didn't exactly believe that. I wasn't praying while I was hoping. There's a difference.
Maybe. When's this momentous event occurring?
Next weekend.
We'll have to practice. How did you do on the phone? Any of the role-playing we did at the office help? Were you calm? You didn't let him know you were wetting your pants.
Mary Beth changed the subject.
I'm going with Mitch P. and Cliff to a meeting, the New Orleans chapter of the Louisiana Writers Collective. What are you doing tonight?
I'm playing with a pickup band at the VFW post in Algiers. It's a favor to a friend of mine, plus some extra cash.
What band?
You never heard of them. It's the Twisted Guys. The meeting ends early. Come on by. I'll buy you a drink. You might need one. You know how those writers are. Anal retentive is fucking weird.
Well, Mary Beth did need a drink that night, and she did have one, actually two, although she never made it to the VFW post in Algiers. The first part of the evening went smoothly enough. She left her house at 6:35 and walked up Bourbon Street to Canal to catch the St. Charles Street trolley. It was raining lightly and she hadn't taken an umbrella, so she was glad to see the trolley making its turn onto Canal Street as she reached the corner. Mitch was already at Petey's when she got there. Cliff was planning to meet them at the house of Robert Chinovsky near Lee Circle. It was only a short trolley ride from Petey's, so they walked. Cliff's brand new silver Honda was parked in front of the huge antebellum mansion. Mitch pulled a piece of paper out of his pocket.
Okay, you're gonna ring the top bell. Chinovsky lives on the 3rd floor.
She was still mesmerized by Reed Fallon's phone call, and had hardly been paying attention at all. She'd even missed Petey's stop on the trolley and had to walk 3 long blocks in the rain to get there.
No, but Cliff does. He thinks they'll make a good blend.
The 3 musketeers walked up the stairs of the old blue and white house. The paint was peeling and the inside stairwell was unlit. At the 3rd floor landing, the door was open, and in a very large parlor were about a dozen people sitting on old couches and chairs drinking Rolling Rock beer. Cliff took care of the introductions. Mary Beth tried very hard to catch all of the names. Most of the people, most of the men, there was only one other woman, were aligned to at least one small press magazine. The host, a self-named jazz impresario, gave Mary Beth a catalog of all the magazines and asked everyone to introduce themselves again. Mary Beth was still thinking about what Reed Fallon looked like and missed this second intro also, as she sat down on the old mustard-colored couch, sandwiched safely between Mitch and Petey. Cliff sat in a straight-back chair next to Mitch. Somebody handed Mary Beth a beer, which she never got to drink, and asked her if she wrote. Just for the paper. Telling herself that she should try to concentrate, this was work, but no one had mentioned who was going to take notes, so she didn't bother to take out her notebook. Anyway, all she would have written was Reed Fallon's name over and over again, with little hearts around it. Cliff never took notes. He expected one of his staff to always be ready to write, usually at a moment's notice. Petey took his cue from the idleness of his co-workers and picked up the discarded beer bag from the floor as his notebook. Petey liked writing on paper bags. What Mary Beth did notice was the strange and frightening dance between the one female LWC member and one of the men. He was obviously drunk and wouldn't take his eyes off her. She changed her seat 3 times, so did he. Finally, when this part of the dance was over, he was sitting next to Petey. The woman was on the other side of the room, still trying to avoid his stare. Maybe this was normal behavior, Mary Beth thought, although she didn't for 1 minute believe it. No one else seemed to notice, but just as soon as Mary Beth was sinking into the fantasy of her dream date with Reed Fallon, Petey nudged her.
Look at this guy. Is he crying?
Petey looked worried, and this is rare. He usually only looked worried when Cliff was searching for something important on his desk, like their paychecks, which he always managed to misplace under that veritable mountain of papers. Mary Beth looked in back of Petey, and yes, the lead in this frightening mating dance was lying on his side, sobbing. No one did anything. Their indifference was a shock to the arts and entertainment staff. They loved when one of their co-workers was upset. It was an excuse to go out to lunch in the quarter and spend the afternoon drinking. But each of the members of the collective only took another beer from the beer pool in the middle of the room without saying anything. Maybe they had to ignore him. She looked to Cliff for a clue. He knew these people, but Cliff wasn't giving out any opinions. So she began to flip through one of the magazines that she had received when she first came in. Bad test. It was the Woman's Mag. Mary Beth missed it when the man got up and walked over to his target, and when Mary Beth did look up, he was already pulling the woman's long blonde hair.
Don't try to avoid me, bitch. Yeah, take a good look. See what you've done to me.
Mary Beth's initial instinct was to jump up and go over to the woman, but Petey looked ominously at her and she stayed where she was. What transpired in the next 10 minutes would keep the arts and entertainment staff in court for the remainder of the spring and would completely deplete the budget of the New Orleans chapter of the LWC. The jazz impresario, whose mansion, his sole inheritance, they were in, stood up and told the drunk man to leave the woman alone and leave the premises. The woman, Ellen Zappo, had been engaged to him, Mary Beth found this out later, and the drunk Dr. Jones, a philosophy professor whose tenure had been denied at Loyola only 2 weeks earlier, refused to leave. So Cliff, a true Southern gentleman who, no matter where he was, always acted like a boss, stood up and in his most serious newspaper voice also asked Dr. Jones to leave. Jones retaliated by calling Cliff a faggot and punching him on the left side of the head, knocking his glasses off. In absolute horror, Mary Beth bent down to pick them up. Cliff didn't know what to do. Neither did anyone else when Jones proceeded to wipe his runny nose with his left hand and then wipe his left hand on Cliff's white shirt.